Hey guys, Rexter here, and in today's video we're going to be uncovering the secrets of what to expect in Indigo Park Chapter 2. The game left off with plenty of mystery, but also a huge new storyline that we need to take into account. Not to mention the relationship that Rambley has with the protagonist, and the protagonist's relationship with the park to begin with. I think a lot of these mysteries will be uncovered in Chapter 2's gameplay, and if you enjoy videos like this, make sure you grab your popcorn and a drink, and let's go ahead and take a deeper dive in. So for starters, we're introduced to the entire character plot thanks to Rambley, the AI raccoon that was apparently trapped outside of the park for 8 years. And thanks to our help, we're able to get him back in, but that comes at no consequence to us as well. He's able to help us navigate, even saving us at times. And he introduces us, or I should say reintroduces us to the other characters in the park as well, giving us a good backstory of what to expect as we make our way through the once child favorite park. Obviously, we know this park was created by a man named Isaac Indigo, who wanted to bring that American dream back into the style of an American-made park. That's very similar to that of Walt Disney, and sounds exactly like his once upon a time speech that he gave when opening up Disneyland. Obviously, Rambley serves as the helpful creature, the main character of this Isaac Indigo's vision, but his vision did go south at points in his story. Isaac was here to bring entertainment to the entirety of this crowd. Now, we know, thanks to the end of the game, collecting that Rambley mask, that there was once human mascots inside of this park. Now, Isaac felt that these characters didn't live up to par to his dream and didn't provide enough entertainment for the visitors. Thus, the reason why he decided to make something more lively, more realistic, and unfortunately for the employees that once worked at the park, they were going to be out of a job really soon. Somehow, some way, Isaac formed a mascot that almost was so lifelike that it even carried blood inside of it. This is evident at the end of Chapter 1 as we see Molly Macaw get her head chopped off, not revealing animatronic parts, but instead what looks like human blood, organs, and everything in between. Now, a lot of speculation has been put onto this game, saying that some of these characters could have potentially been real-life animals at this point. And, not to mention, when we do eventually run into Lloyd the Lion, the character that Rambley has a hard time getting along with, look at him here. This character doesn't look like a mascot, it doesn't look like an animatronic, but instead like a real-life lion. Even the way he lunges at the character, it's so realistic. Now, that can be said for a lot of the characters that resemble real-life animals, Molly Macaw for example, and even Lloyd. But what about something like a sea creature? That's where we bring up the case of Finley. Finley is the friendly sea creature who does get lonely at times and almost looks a bit depressed. When we're first introduced to Finley, he's almost begging for us to come visit him in his underwater odyssey. It's almost like a cute little version of the Loch Ness Monster, like a snake-like body with wavy yellow and orange mane going down his spine with a little bit of a forked tongue resembling that of a snake. Originally, he was actually teased using the snake emoji on Twitter, and a lot of people compared him to that of a dragon. However, Unique squashed that possibility in his last livestream. Rambley even says that he's known Finley for over 100 years, which really makes it seem like Finley was possibly one of the first characters ever created, thanks to Isaac Indigo himself. He reminded me a lot of Eeyore, the character from Winnie the Pooh, as I played the initial playthrough, even saying that the ocean is blue as him, even though he's clearly green. Blue obviously meaning that his feelings are usually on the down end. We don't get a lot of information on Finley other than what Rambley tells us on his railroad. However, if you look closely at the beginning of the game, look at our protagonist's desk. There's a flyer for Finley's Oceanic Odyssey. But what makes this interesting is the fact that there's a sticky note attached to it with the words "replaced?" which could actually make a whole lot of sense. But first, hear me out on this. When going into the game files, there's actually two versions of Finley, one of them being a cute, smaller version of him, the one that we see inside of Rambley's railroad, and the other being an absolutely horrifying giant monster, similar to the one that we see at the end of Chapter 1. This might be evidence alone that there's a theory here that could be made. We know that Isaac Indigo, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, made new, more realistic versions of the mascots. But something went absolutely wrong. This once cute and cuddly version of Finley, sometimes being a little bit depressive, was replaced by a new horrifying, blood-taking monster. So what does this mean for the next chapter of the game? Well, we already know how the limits of Indigo Park can be pushed. We definitely didn't expect Molly Macaw's head to be chopped off by the door at the end of chapter 1, so we know that Unique Geese himself has a way of making the game fun, playable, child-friendly, but also have its own little dark side. I think we can expect a lot more of this in chapter 2, especially the fact that a giant sea serpent is going to be chasing us throughout the entirety of it. And with more development and more time and more budget, this chapter is looking to be 3 times, if not 5 times better than the original chapter 1. I'd expect Finley himself to be the main antagonist in this chapter. I don't know how we're going to pull it off just yet, but somehow we're going to have to go inside of the Oceanic Odyssey. Finley wouldn't be much of a threat if he's constantly hidden behind this glass. And I think it would be funny looking if there was somehow a mascot version of him that can walk on land and chase us throughout the building. So how or why are we going to get inside of the Oceanic Odyssey to begin with? Well, that's where I think Rambley comes into play. I think there's going to be a way to clean up the park, or at least help him along his mission, maybe even give us more details of what happened to the mysterious closing of the park, and we're going to have to go inside of the Oceanic Odyssey to get those. So the question now is, what other characters will we see inside of chapter 2? Will there be new ones introduced? I do believe that this could be a potential possibility, especially seeing as we're only introduced at this point to 4 different characters. Lloyd the Lion, Molly Macaw, Finley, and Salem, and we barely get any information on them. Rambley doesn't even bring them up in our initial playthrough. We just happen to see Salem inside of the Rambley's Rush game and the cardboard cutout that was broken. So I believe that Salem will have a bigger part in chapter 2, seeing as they keep getting introduced to us in a hidden manner. But will they be as evil as they come across? I mean, in Rambley's Rush alone, they seem to give Molly Macaw something that turns her absolutely evil and against one of her best friends. Could they possibly do something similar like that to Finley as well? Turning Finley into the once depressive version of himself to a now more aggro version, and the one that we see at the end of chapter 2. I would also like to see a little bit more information not only on the creation of the park, but also how this whole thing ties into our protagonist. We know that our mom really enjoyed Molly Macaw, but that's about it. Does the mom also have different relations to the park, potentially being a former employee, or maybe somebody who was close to Isaac Indigo? Many theories are going around the internet that Isaac Indigo is actually Ed, our protagonist's father. That seems a little bit unlikely because when we do see the original video of Isaac Indigo opening up the park, it's in black and white. And the computer desk that we see at the beginning of the game, the intro screen, just doesn't look like it matches up to that timeline. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel out that theory. However, he could potentially be a grandfather, maybe even an uncle, but one thing's for certain, there is a reason why our protagonist feels so strongly in coming back to the park after it's been closed for 8 years. We do know that they have an interest in searching abandoned buildings, but this one's a bit different. They decide to risk it all, leaving their friend behind and going on a solo adventure, even though that they know the cops are blocking the entrance and would literally not even investigate this place any further. My theory is that in chapter 2, a lot of things are going to be introduced to us, and it's actually going to be a lot longer than the initial playthrough that we're used to in chapter 1. With a fully funded game, Unique Geese is going to absolutely cook with this one. And with chapter 1 already being one of the best mascot horror games I've played up until this point, with a low budget completely coming out of Unique Geese's pockets, I cannot wait to see what he does with a full budget. And I do want to say that he's hinted towards other voice actors, which makes me wonder, are there going to be other characters involved as well? We know that there's going to be one for Salem, but what about other mascots that have not been introduced just yet? I get it, if you go inside of the gift shop, you really don't see other mascots, but what if this is only a portion of the park? And once we make it through Oceanic Odyssey, that's when things change. This would be very similar to that of Disney. When you go into Hollywood Studios, you don't really see a bunch of the characters being sold in different parts of the park. There's a Toy Story section, which doesn't really show any characters from the Star Wars section, and vice versa. We know that Unique Geezer really pulled a lot of inspiration from his love for Disney World, and so that makes me think that this could be a potential possibility in Chapter 2 as well. He definitely does not shy away at the fact that there are so many similarities. The Critter Cuff alone looks so much like the Disney Plus pass that you get inside of the park, and the characters, and the way that the intro is formed with Isaac Indigo, very resemblant, like I said, to Walt Disney himself. So with all that being said, it wouldn't shock me if there's more characters that just haven't been shown to us yet. One thing's for certain, if there are, that would absolutely change the way we look at this game and make it a lot more fun. So I hope that's the case. But guys, that wraps up this video here. If you enjoy content just like this, do me a big favor. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you have more theories that you'd like me to cover on this topic, go ahead and comment them down below. Also, let me know what you think about these theories. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace out!